Troublesome times are here, filling men's hearts with fear. Freedom we all hold dear, now is at stake. Humble your hearts to God, safe from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom.
Thanks for sharing your time with us today. We have a repeat guest that's coming back. It's Dr. Juday. Juday. You've been here before, right, Doctor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're glad to have you back. And the doctor works at the is it the Union Rescue Mission or the Rescue Mission?
It's called the Nashville Rescue Mission.
I'd written in my notes Nashville Rescue Mission, but it used to be Union Rescue Mission a long time ago, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And so, how many years you been with them?
I'm going on my 7th. I'm right at 7.
He has a doctorate in Christian counseling, but now I understand that you're over all the education programs. All of them or just part of them?
For the men and the women, all of the academic and really the religious studies too. I'm over both of those things for the rescue mission.
What is this may not be a fair question, but I'll ask you more today that won't be fair questions. You just tell me I ain't going to answer that. What do you think of the biggest misconception about the rescue mission? Does a lot of good work, and they've helped a lot of people. And a lot of the people y'all have helped come to church with me at the Inner City Church. You know, a lot of them come and work with us. We got people driving buses. They've really put their lives together and are very productive people. And they started with you, and y'all brought them through it. What are the misconceptions that people have of the rescue mission?
Probably the biggest one is they think that all we do is with the transient population, that we give them a meal and give them a bed to stay in for the night, and then they're back out on the street. Now that is a big portion of the mission, and don't get me wrong, I mean, that's probably our largest population is with the transient. But if a man or a woman does want help, and not just a meal or a bed, and wants help to get over their addiction problems or their life problems, they can come to us and ask for help, and they can stay right there at the mission and go into our life recovery programs, which last anywhere from 6 months to about 3 years. And I think that's kind of the biggest misconception, is that that's all we do. But we actually have halfway houses, transitional housing for the people. We do a lot of counseling. We have chaplains on duty for the transient population, but also for the life recovery program. And we have a travel assistance program also, that if someone gets stuck in Nashville, doesn't have any money, we might be able to help them get a bus ticket to get back home if their car breaks down or something like that. So there's several different ministries wrapped up in the Nashville Rescue Mission, and it's not just taking care of the transient population.
I think you did a good job describing that, because I send people and recommend that they come, that they need help with an addiction and get off things, and particularly with the women, you know, you can go there and get some real help, and they can get you back on your feet and get you going. But they think they'll be staying with their first impression is they'll be staying where the transient population stays, and they don't stay where they. You have special dorms, special places. They're in another part of the building.
Correct. If they want to come into the program, then they go through a gateway, which is kind of maybe a 30-day where they detox, learn some of the system, but they're separated from the transient population.
You don't rush people through, do you?
Try not to. Sometimes we think our program is really 6 months long, but they can stay longer. They go and find a job, and they can stay in our transitional housing. Sometimes I think the 6 months is too short. I mean, there's 2-week programs, there's 30-day programs, there's 60-day programs. We've kind of set our sights on a kind of a happy medium of a 6-month program where we see some definite life change, and hopefully permanent life change in that 6 months.
The biggest thing I see, and one of the questions I want to ask you in a minute, is about a parent about parents who have a child that needs help or have a young adult in their house that needs help. But one of the biggest things I've noticed about people who have addictions is they'll go to, judge will send them to a treatment program, and it's a 30-day treatment program. They have to stay there for 30 days, man. Once they get clean and start breathing good air again and life starts making, they think they're healed, and they'll check out early and leave rather than stay and work through the whole, get that foundation built up and then stay and to get the tools to keep out from getting back in trouble. They get out and they walk back into the same community where they failed the first time and go back to their same peer group, and they're right back in the same mistake and making wrong decisions again.
Well, we find that in our gateway, that gateway period of time. A lot of the guys and women, they'll get cleaned up, they start getting sober, getting off drugs, they're starting to think clearly again, they get some of their health back, and all of a sudden they're gone, thinking, well, I can handle it on my own. And they go back right to the same community, and then we generally see them in a few months after that wears off, and they come back through.
Let's talk about parents. We got parents out here all over the city of Nashville, and they've got children that were good kids, they were good teenagers, they got out and they got in a bad relationship or this, that, peer group, whatever, and they started using social drugs, casual drugs, and then they got off into some addictions, and they don't know where to turn. What's your advice to those parents with that young 22, 23, 25-year-old son who's married to some girl and got babies, but he's a junkie? And what's your advice to those parents?
Well, I'm probably to stop enabling them, and there are places for them to stay. They don't have to stay in your house. They can stay at the Mission, or there's other places that they can stay. I don't think they're
parents need to understand that's going to be tough love, don't they?
Well, that's hard for them to do. I've got some friends in my church that are going through that right now. And it's pervasive throughout society. It's all socioeconomic levels. It's not just poor people. There's rich, middle class. It's all over the place.
And you've got people that's dealing with prescription drugs, that's hooked on prescription drugs, that needs help getting off those things. Okay, a parent says, all right, we got a son or daughter and they've got this problem. That parent, and the point I want to get across, that parent can trust the rescue mission, I like I said Union again, the Nashville Rescue Mission, that's a good starting place.
Yes.
Is that what I'm supposed to say? That's a good starting place to get the strength that they need to move that child out and get him help. If you love them, you're going to get them help.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the parents are thinking, if I kick them out of the house, where are they going to live? I don't want them living underneath a bridge or in the woods. But there are plenty of safe places for them to stay and to start to think seriously about getting their life together. But they're not going to do that in their parents' home.
And where they're being, and parents are enabling, and they don't realize they're enabling, but they give them a place to stay where they can. One of the boys that had an addiction that worked for me for a long time, after he had gone through all the treatment and everything. Matter of fact, he's still running the Mobile ministry now. His name's Chuck Griffith. Chuck said, you have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I asked him one day, I was working with another guy, and he was buying drugs with his money that I was getting him and helping him, and I was wound up enabling him. And he said, don't feed him. he said, from experience, when the pain of hunger gets greater than the desire for drugs, he will take the dollars and buy food with it. And he said, it's going to be tough. Don't feed him. And I thought, boy, that's good. That is good. And just look him straight in the eye and say, I ain't buying your drugs, and well, you don't love me. You got it right. Yeah. And so I was real strict on them, but you have to get their attention. Yeah. They don't think right. Their brain is broke.
Well, sin is insanity. It really is. Because once you start getting your mind right, you look back on your life and all the things you did, and you said, why did I do that? It doesn't even make sense for me to do some of the things that I did. But they don't realize it when they're in that. They're only going to realize it when they're out of it.
One of the young men that y'all worked and helped, and he's an adult, and I imagine he's coming up on probably 30 years old. He's a great volunteer, comes to church with us, but he grew up in a Christian environment and got making wrong decisions and got off into drugs and everything, and he came to y'all's program. And he's from out of state. He came here. They brought him here from out of state, as I understand, or he came here and got pulled into y'all's program here, or got into your program here. And he's very productive now and doing well, got a good job, making good money. And I asked him one day, I said, "Are you going back home?" Because I've met his parents. His parents are outstanding people. I said, "Are you going back home?" He said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "You have to understand, I did so much damage. I'm not sure my parents are ready to trust me yet for me to come back home. I think I need to stay here and build more trust and more character and become more stable." And I thought that was very wise. You had done a good job working with him and training him, and he's doing well. And this boy's working, he's making good money, and spending his money wisely. And when you call for a volunteer to do something to help some family somewhere, he is right out there, eyes into volunteering into it and serving and checking on people. And I've noticed he's helping some of the elderly and checking on them and visiting them when they go to a nursing home. He's there to visit them. He cares about people, but he had enough wisdom to say, "I'm staying in Nashville where I know where I'm at. I'm staying on my solid ground."
Well, that's probably one of the saddest things that I see is the broken families and the broken relationships due to drug addiction, because their parents thought they would love them and give them things and try to help them as much as they could. And I mean, that's a good thing, but finally, when they finally give up on them, then the young man, and sometimes there are older men, and they don't have a mother or a father or brother or sister. Their children won't even speak to them, and they're alone. And I don't know if there's enough time left in their life to regain that trust from their families. It's just it's heartbreaking to see that no one in their family wants them anymore.
The price of sin is, well, you know what it did to Jesus. And so the price of sin is painful. And ones that I've seen that's been successful, they take ownership of their sin. They take ownership of their responsibility. It's not my family's fault. They don't blame other people. I've made these mistakes. And one of the great things to the family, I can say, God gave you the authority and the power to forgive. And I encourage all those families to start, okay, you got abused a little bit, and things didn't go the way you want them to. Life don't go the way you want them to. You're not God. So start forgiving. Start working out a process to bring healing back to that person. Don't shut that person out, because real Christianity is loving your neighbor as yourself and loving God with all your heart. We want God to forgive us, and we mistreat God all the time. And so people need to learn to forgive each other. And I think we as Christians need to learn to not be so judgmental on other people in their lives.
Yeah. Well, we've seen some great miracles in reconciliation of relationships there. We had one man that he was getting ready to graduate our program, and he didn't have a place to go. His wife told him that she didn't want him back, but somehow he got on the phone, was calling his kids, and his wife answered the phone. The kids weren't there, and they started talking. And within a few weeks, she felt there was a difference in him, and it took a while. I mean, because forgiveness can be pretty quick, but the trust takes it takes a long time. But they got back together again. I mean, that's neat to see families come back together through the forgiveness and the trust.
And it can happen. And now, you do at the rescue mission, you play heavy on the part of God in people's lives.
Yes.
You are very much, your doctorate is in Christian counseling?
Correct.
Hard to put a life together without the Creator being a part of that.
Yeah, we're big on the sovereignty of God there.
When I've been down there, and the people I talk to come from there, they are trained they know where the real power comes from. And I think I commend you for that. And see, when people think about the rescue mission, they don't think of that. They think about a guy's got to come and hear a sermon to get a free meal and then go back out and get drunk on the street. They don't realize that all the things you do. Tell me about what you got for women. Women are, they get left out in a lot of things, at least in people's mindset they're left out. But you have programs for women and families?
Women and families, that's correct. We over on Rosa Parks, we just finished a big addition to that ministry because that was a growing population of the homeless was women and children, and we saw the numbers keep rising, so we built a building to try to accommodate that. Over on Rosa Parks, we've bought some property also so we can expand. But we have a playground for the children. The transient population can come there and get a meal and get a bed. And we will take a woman with children, their sons. If their sons are older, we separate them just because they can't really be if they're almost a grown man, we try to separate them, put them in their own room. But they can stay there. There's services all around there that the kids can actually go to school. The bus will come and pick them up and take them to school. There's daycare that's over there. And if they want help, then they can go to the Hope, that's the Family Life Center. Then they can go over to the Hope Center if they want to get into the life recovery program. And they'll take women and children there also. Same program that's with the men. It's a 6-month program, but then we have transitional housing that once they find a job and can establish themselves. But
and they live at the mission.
They live right there at the
Mama
mission.
and her children live at the mission. Now,
Right.
what about, do you have any mama and man and wife and their children?
No. We have to separate them. We do have some husband and wives, but the
He's
husband,
in the man's program and
right.
she's in the women's program.
Right,
Well, that makes sense.
and a lot of times that's sometimes better for the relationship, to be separate and to be both growing themselves instead of trying to look out for the other person.
Because they have to focus on their own recovery.
Right, and they get so caught up with one another, it's actually good for them to be separate.
One of the things I've noticed about people that have addictions, a lot of times they got good hearts. They are giving people, and I've noticed in my ministry, some of them even go as far as they take on other people's problems and they get overwhelmed and they wind up using the powder and stuff themselves because they're worried so much about other people, and they say, "Well, Lyle, you're crazy." No, I'm not. Some people have a great ability to love, but don't know how to deal with it, and they can't walk away from it.
Yeah.
And they're not prepared to adequately lead other people, and they get caught up in Satan is a master at destroying people and tearing up lives. So you've got the children would go back to the woman and the children. So the children would live at the mission.
Yes.
And go to school and come back home and do homework and would live there. That'd just be their home.
Correct.
For the 6-month period of time.
Right.
How do the children do? Do you have programs for the children that's so that they can adjust to living with a mama that's a drug addict?
Well, we get them enrolled in school, so they're going to school if they're of school age. They can go to daycare if they're of daycare age, and if they're we've had some pregnant women come in and have babies, and we allow the mother to just be with their child until they get old enough. So the children are there, but they're only there kind of in the evenings and on weekends. So the mother can go to the classes and do all the things that she needs to do.
And the children seem to adjust there well. I guess they're good because they got a roof over their head and they feel somebody's helping somebody. It has to be good.
Yeah, it's a better environment, I think, than
Where they were.
than
Living
where
in the
they
car.
were. Right.
Or on the bridge.
Well, and there's some structure, and there's structure there. I mean, there's things that they can do and places that they can go to, and we have TVs and playrooms for them. I mean, they're not just left in an empty room by themselves.
This may be a dangerous question, but if a family's watching and they're retirement age people, their kids are gone, they got money, they're old and retired and got a lot of energy, if they wanted to come down and volunteer and say take the family, the mother and the children, and sort of, adopt's the wrong word, but get involved with them and take them to a ball game somewhere, is that possible? Can you check them out? Could they do that and pick up children and spend time with them?
Well, that's a question. We're trying to set up mentoring programs through churches where families or people would adopt the family that's there, and actually even for the men, we befriend the men, be a mentor. I'm not sure how far that program is along. You probably need to check with the director of the program. I don't want to say yes and then there'll be a flood of people come in, and that's not something that they really want to do, or they're right. Equipped for right now.
And that's the right phrase. They're not equipped for it right now. Mm-hmm. But it would be a good thing for people need to take care of people. And I've said it over and over and over, and you've been a Christian counselor, you'll understand this. I got to learn to talk. Jay, I'm just really, my tongue's about 3 times bigger than it's supposed to be. If we can get Jesus out of the church building. Now, folks who listen to this, where you go to church, you listen to it. If we can get Jesus out of the church building, out in the community where people live, and start loving sinners, great things will happen. And what's happened in our city and in Nashville, we've built these church buildings, we got Jesus locked up inside of it, and the community outside is suffering. We need to get out and start loving sinners and quit judging sinners and start encouraging people to come to the Lord, and great things will happen. Mm-hmm. God loves all of us.
Well, a Sunday school class, and that is being done now, will come in and kind of adopt and do a service and can meet the kids and the women. That would probably be the most appropriate way for right now for how to handle that. If there's a church that want to invest, or people that want to invest in the women and children's lives, coming in as a church group and putting on something, serving a meal, putting on a service for the families, that would be a real good thing to do. And we have people that are doing that, churches that are doing that right now.
You take no money, according to your advertisement on television, you take no money for the government.
That's correct.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
Every time I have dealt with the government, and I try to be a real friend, and I got some people that have really been behind us in this ministry, but every time, Jay, I start dealing with them in a big way and start getting into it, they start trying to control me and what I can teach and what I can't teach. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to get in that box. Mm-hmm. And that's not what tax money is for, the way I look at it. That's where the Christian community's got to kind of stand up and do what the Christian community is supposed to do.
Well, Mayor Dean, when he comes in, he comes in every Thanksgiving and Christmas, he thanks us because he knows we take no government money. And so we're not in his budget. He doesn't have to worry about us. And we do a great service to the community, I believe.
He is real big on the fact that let nonprofits, let Christian ministries function, and they call the shots and they pay the way and they do their ministry, and he's proud of that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really makes our city. I can't imagine Nashville without the Nashville Rescue Mission. It would be a different city completely, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, and there's always rescue mission. It's kind of a blight on downtown, but actually, we've done a lot of improvement, and we're doing it right now. If you've been by the rescue mission, we're taking our parking lot and making some green areas in there to try to fit in a little bit more with the Music City Convention Center, to try to spruce up the outside of the building and the infrastructure of our building. We've put in a new chapel, remodeled our chapel, put new floor in our kitchen, and our dining room. We've remodeled the whole upstairs. We've put in new air conditioning, heat, new roof. So we've invested in that building and that property that it's really where it's supposed to be, I think, with the other services.
Well, and I understand what the people are saying. They are, for lack of a better term, they're embarrassed by some of the homeless and the panhandlers, and some of them can just be flat rude, Mm-hmm. But it is what it is. And I've been to other big cities where people are eating out of trash cans and throwing the paper on the street and so forth. And I applaud y'all for what you do in this city for us to help get that population in a safe place where we can take care of. Your rescue in the cold weather when it's 3 degrees and you're out trying to get people to come inside and be safe. And I just think that's a great Christian work, and I applaud you for what you do there. And I applaud you for what you do in trying to minister to families and get people off drugs, off addictions, and put their families back together, because I'm a big, and everybody that's ever been around me knows, I believe God gave us a family first, the church to save it, and the government to protect it, but the family is God's small group. Mm-hmm. And when you want to fix the problem, you fix the family, you fix the problem. Now, all families don't do what I think they ought to do, but that's their choice, you know. And that makes a big difference. We've got 2 minutes to go. I appreciate you being here, and I hope you'll come back sometime.
I'd like that.
Is there anything that you need that I didn't ask you the question on that you need to say about the mission and that the people in Nashville need to know?
Just that since we don't take any government money, that's what we live off of, is donations from people, from corporations, and from churches. But
people being involved in people's lives,
and the volunteer network that we have, it's pretty extreme. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's in the thousands of people that volunteer at the rescue mission.
I know when
we need that.
You have your big Thanksgiving,
right?
And you got all those celebrities down there cooking turkeys, and it's a big blowout. And there's a lot of good people. And I know that TV stations, they have adopted you and working with you, and and that's good. I love Seal City working together. It's great, and I think you have done that in a way that is to be commended for it. And so, one of these days we partner with you, and that we train your folks and drivers and get them CDL license. Sam does that. And then Todd works with them, and like I said, the Inner City Church provides a church home for a lot of people. And it's good to be able to work together in that. And I appreciate you being here. I'll be praying that your family does well, and that y'all keep up your good work there. And look forward to you coming back and being with us.
All right, thank you.
Folks, if you have any need for a person in your family that's in addiction, I've lost time. I may need to be closing right here, but contact them out the mission and talk to them and let them see if they might be able to help you, and they want to. And we thank you for tuning in.
Troublesome times are here, feeling in touch with fear. Freedom we all hold dear, now is at stake. Humble your heart to God, safe from the chains run. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom. Trumpets will sound, and all of the dead shall rise. Righteous me in the skies. I'm going where no one dies, heavenward bound. What troubles will soon be, or happy forevermore. When we meet on that shore, free from all care. Rising up in the skies, telling this world goodbye. Home when we will fly, glory to share.